Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today I'm going to be talking about the Defiance beta. This is pretty much an MMOFPS, although technically it's not really an FPS, it's more of a third-person shooter, but it still plays much like an FPS would. Now, Defiance is unique in that I think it's one of the first games ever to come out at the same time that a TV show is coming out of the same name and same story. So basically the show Defiance is coming out on the Sci-Fi Channel, I think on May 9th, and that's basically going to take place in the same world that the game world takes place. Now, I don't know a lot about the backstory for the game. You can watch the first 15 minutes of the first episode of the TV show online, and that'll give you a little bit, but you really don't have a lot to work with right off the bat. It's the future. There's been an alien race that's come to Earth, and I think like these sort of arc spaceships, and then something happened. Earth was sort of terraformed, and I don't really know the details of what happened. I assume you're going to find out during the game and during the TV show, but you're called an arc hunter, and also in the TV show the characters seem to be arc hunters, and I think they go around looking for artifacts and things from these falling spaceships from the alien invasion, or at least the alien arrival. You don't even know if it's really an invasion at this point. Now, if you're not interested in the TV show, or you try the TV show and you end up not liking it, the game itself is actually completely independent from the show in that it will tell the story on its own, develop characters on its own. You're not going to actually need to watch the TV show to sort of catch up on what's going on with your current missions or anything like that. Now, when you first enter the game, you do go through a few cutscenes which kind of explain how you got to where you are, at least, and you seem to be sort of working for a scientist, yeah, almost like maybe even a mercenary type character on this big flying fortress ship. It looks like a flying aircraft carrier. It ends up getting attacked or going down, and then you sort of wake up in an escape pod, and you have to kind of regather and rally around the forces of this ship and go on missions and stuff like that. In the very beginning, you will go through a little tutorial system. I recommend to everybody going through this system. It will just sort of simply explain the basics of the game. As far as controls go, if you're familiar with shooters, it should be pretty straightforward. In the tutorial, we'll kind of show you how to use different abilities. You can sort of supercharge your weapon, having it do more damage, and you won't be required to reload, or it will reload instantaneously. You can do other things. The one I picked was an ability that allows me to sort of create a holographic image of myself, which will run in front of me, and a lot of the bad guys will shoot at that, giving me time to pick off many foes. Now, sadly, I wasn't able to explore all the different classes you can make in this game. There are several, and each of them gets a huge variety of weapons, and not only are those weapons large in variety, but you can customize the heck out of them with different attachments like grips and stocks and sights and all that kind of stuff to kind of change the way that the gun performs. In many ways, this game does play like a traditional MMORPG. If you're familiar with WoW, there's a lot of concepts from that game that seem to repeat themselves in this. There's a large sort of open world where you go on missions, you kill NPCs, you get experience from killing NPCs, you level up, you gain new abilities, you gain new items for your character. However, if you compare it to a traditional MMORPG, the effectiveness of your character is often based on your items or your level. In this game, it seems to be much more dependent on your skill and your knowledge of when to use your abilities at the right times. Sure, you have that in traditional MMORPGs, but in those games you generally don't have to aim at every single small thing and make sure that all your bullets are hitting on target. In this game, you absolutely have to aim, so that is going to be a big part of being able to take down the NPCs. Now, NPC combat isn't the only thing available in this game. Of course, you're going to have the traditional co-op versus NPC combat. Apparently, there's supposed to be gigantic boss battles that tons of people can group up and fight against larger creatures or players or whatever it is. But there's also supposed to be competitive multiplayer. So there was a competitive queuing system implemented in the beta when I was playing, although it never really seemed to pop me into a game. I'm not sure if there just weren't enough people in the beta to fill up a server, or if the feature wasn't fully functioning yet, but I didn't get to try out the competitive aspect of this game, which is something that I was really looking forward to, and I'll have to try out a bit once this game comes to final release. Now, I wish I had gotten into the game a bit further so that I could have experienced some more interesting boss battles. I think I ran into a total of maybe 3 different kinds of bad guys. There's a few of the bad guys that seem to sort of rank up and gain new abilities. Some of the standard grunts in some of the missions gained grenades, which were something that ended up killing me because I wasn't quite used to it, but the game starts to get a little bit more challenging. I know watching my gameplay right now, I'm looking at it and thinking how easy this game is, but I am still very much in the novice area of the game, and it does start to tack on the difficulty a bit more as you progress. There will also be instanced areas that will allow you to fight not just the regular bad guys, but also like really large, gruesome monsters that I guess live underground. So sort of like almost a Starship Troopers-esque style missions, and teaming up with friends to try and do those missions seems like it could actually be a lot of fun. Some of the missions that I ended up on resulted in waves and waves of bad guys, and at first 1-on-1 or 1-on-even 3 they don't seem like such a big challenge, but all of a sudden when you've got an endless wave of them running towards you, potentially limited ammo supply, there are ammo crates around and you do get them from killing enemies, but you can run low. The missions all of a sudden start to get a bit more difficult, and so it's not just your ability to kill 3 guys, it's your ability to kill like 10 or 20 or 30 at once, and so having teammates for that kind of aspect I can see ending up being a lot of fun. A cool little aspect of the game are these things called hotspots, where you run around and you'll find this little node just appearing in the middle of nowhere, and you can accept these little missions. And basically when you go on the mission, it'll be something like an endless wave of bad guys attacking you, or you'll have a simple task to complete in a period of time, or maybe it'll just be how many bad guys can you kill before you die. But there's scores on there. There's basically a scoreboard showing how well everybody else has done during these missions, so you can compete against other players sort of indirectly, and if you get into the top 3 on the scoreboard, your name will appear there, or your name will just kind of appear in general on the player list so people can compare themselves to see how well you did compared to them. I kind of like these little mini challenges around the map, and for playing them you'll get experience and you'll get items and that kind of thing. So it's just a fun little mini game within the larger game itself. Now, it'll be interesting to see if the third-person view aspect prevents this game from becoming a serious competitive shooter. It does make it feel a little bit more arcadey and a little bit less tactical. Overall, I'm not sure how that's going to appeal to the COD or Battlefield market. I have to say, for me personally, it was kind of a nice little change of pace in terms of getting away from the first-person shooter genre. So is Defiance going to be a successful title? Is it going to be worthwhile to pick up when it comes out? Well, I have to say it's hard to say, only playing for about an hour and a half to 2 hours of this game. I really didn't get a great feel for what it's going to be like later on in the game. You know, I can hardly call this video any sort of review, but I do think it's going to add a cool new genre for the console players out there, just because there aren't a huge amount of games that offer this sort of scale of a game, or scope really, that you can play with so many other players at the same time. There's also something appealing about the idea of an MMORPG that plays out like a shooter. I mean, sure, you level up and you get new items and gear and all that fun stuff that people actually really like from those MMORPGs, but rather than having to sort of lock onto your target, cast a spell and watch the little spell timer click, or lock onto your target and run up and sort of hit your repeat attack melee button or whatever it is. This one feels a little bit more reactionary. It feels a little more real. You aim at a guy, you shoot. If your bullets hit, they're going to deal damage. Yeah, they're going to deal a specific amount of damage based on what kind of gun attachments you have, but it just feels more like a shooter, even though at its heart it really is an MMORPG. It's a genre that not many developers try to get into just because of its difficulty, but I have to say, as a start here, having only played a small amount of it, it does feel like it's really got some potential for it to be a really good game if you're into the kind of more casual shooter and RPG elements. So that pretty much wraps it up for my intro to the Defiance beta. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time. This is LevelCap, signing off.